Okay, let's enter the prison service itself.
Yes.
Please specify for the audience to know classification of prisoners. Those who on remand, those who on
You see, prisons,
because not most of us know the classification.
to begin with, when does a person become a prisoner? If you are a member of a community and you have been arrested either by the LOCs or by the police or the army, you are not a prisoner. You are still a suspect. Or if you are not a member in the army, then they call you a detainee.
Okay.
Now, but when the police arrests you and make you make a statement, and they send your statements according to the case to the DPP, and the DPP, they call it Peruso, go through these facts and then says this person has something to answer, then police takes you to court. But you still go to court as a suspect. Now, the moment you reach court, there are two things. Either you accept the case or you refuse the case. When you accept the case, then they convict you upon your plea. What you say is what they say. If you have said you did it, there is no reason to say no, you didn't do it. But if you say I didn't do it, and the prosecution thinks you are going to disturb the investigation, they ask the magistrate to keep you away. Now, from the magistrate's pronouncement, that's when you become a prisoner. From a suspect to a prisoner. When you are a suspect, you are either in a police cell or military detention. Now, when you cross, now the moment the magistrate or the adjudicating officer for the army does it in the army courts, then now that's when you become a prisoner. And if it is in court, those who see very well, you will see the police uniform being replaced by the prison's uniform. Then when you get here warrant that talks about you, and then the prisoners takes over. Now, what categories of prisoners do we have? The first broad categories are what we call remands and convicts. These remands, these are prisoners who are still undergoing trial. Convicts, these are prisoners that have already been sentenced to serve their punishment. That means they are convicted either by their own plea or by the evidence against them. Now, that is the first group of separation of them. Then two, these two groups still have some divisions. We have what we call capital offenders. Capital offenders, those are whose cases are triable by the High Court. They start from the magistrate's court, but the cases are triable by the High Court and above. And then we have the petty offenders or minor offenders. Those ones are those who are triable strictly by the magistrate courts. And in terms of offenses, the capital offenders have committed what they call felonies, and the petty offenders have committed what they call misdemeanors. And their parameters is that in most cases, the petty offenders, even when they are convicted, they are short-termers. The capital offenders, it means their sentence can go up to death or life in prison. That is now the second group classification. Then there is the natural one, the men and women. But remember, for us, we only keep adults. We don't keep juveniles. Juveniles belong to Ministry of Gender. But we have the men, then we have the women. Now, when we now go deep segregation, then in among the convicts, then we start the highest category, who are those condemned to death.
To death?
Yeah.
They die in prison?
No, condemned to death, it means that they are due for hanging if the president so wishes.
Do we still have such?
Yes, it is there. It is in our constitution. We still have, I think it is Article 81 of the Constitution that talks about lawful hanging of prison, death by hanging, as long as it is ordered by normal court, and I mean the courts. it's there. It's still on our law books. Even the hanging machine the Gorton machine is there in Upper. It is serviced every now and then, and it is ready. Actually, we last did this hanging in 1999.
Okay.
So hanging is on. Even we have, I think, slightly over 100 prisoners on a death row.
Who are ready to be hanged?
We are ready for hanging.
I found as if they removed the thing of hanging.
No, it's there. It's only that the president has not been signing the hanging warrants. But if he did, they would hang. Yeah, even the hangmen are there. Incidentally, they are prison officers. So now that is now. Then from there, of course, now then we categorize according to the security concerns. That's why we have those who are having very long sentences in maximum security prison, like Upper, followed by Chitaria. Those are people who have 50, 60, 40 years. So because of the sensitivity of security, that's where we have them. Now, apart from then the next one are those in the high security prisons. These are capital offenders, but who are not so dangerous. Like of course, if you look like terrorists, those on treason. Now, these who commit like business offenses, then those ones are in another category. Then we have these lower security. Like you see these ones in open prisons, they don't even have a perimeter wall. You see them walking left and right because those ones have stolen a phone, they have stolen maybe a handbag, they have stolen a maize cob, those ones. So that's how we normally group these ones.
People keep asking about this issue of letting prisoners come out of the prison cells and go and dig in officers' gardens.
No, you see, according to the Prisons Act, one of the functions of prisons, according to the Prisons Act, it is allocating work that is meaningful for the development of the prison, and that is part of the rehabilitation and part of the management of the prison. But even when we go to sections 57 of the Prisons Act, it also emphasizes that prisoners can undertake remuneratable employment. And that's why those people you see going to work, they have an earning. They have an earning. It is a token of appreciation. It's not a salary. It's not a wage, but it's a token of appreciation. And I keep saying this, that while people think that it is retro money, because it starts from the skilled one is now 1,300. Same skilled 750, and then the lowest now is 500. It looks at small money, but out of 10 people in prison, only 2 get visitors. So the remaining one, actually that's the money they depend on to survive, to buy toothpaste, to buy some sugar, to buy clothes. Even some of them come in tatters, yet when they are appearing in court, they are supposed to appear this way. So that earning scheme, that way of earning, is what is very important. But then we also know that redundancy is not a solution. Most of these people are in prison because they don't want to work, they want free things. So one way of inculcating in the attitude and spirit of work is to engage them in some of those activities.
Because I've seen people who go to prison, they go when they are thin, they are looking bad, but they come out. What is behind prison?
Actually, if I start from what you ended with, those who you normally see gain weight in prison are those ones who don't have the money, because with them the prison conditions are better than the conditions out. Because there is enough food, they can bathe, they can sleep, nobody's running after them for anything. So with them, when they are in prison, they are contented. But those who have money, actually with them we machiate, because they psychologically they have been curtailed to do their businesses. Now, it is not that we don't favor the rich ones against the poor ones. But what happens is that it is according to the Human Rights Code of Conduct, is that we are as much as possible allowing people to access what they can afford if they think what is in prisons is not acceptable. For example, for us we give blankets, but somebody says I can afford a small mattress. Then you say yeah, it's allowed. Then you bring. Somebody says, you see, according to me, in those with money even have those personal doctors. You say this type of food I can't eat, but has the capacity to buy his food from outside, and they are allowed. Now the biggest problem is that those who can afford are allowed. We allow everybody that bring what you think you can, but those who don't have will still bring nothing. Then those who can will get a flask, they will get a mattress, they will get the local food outside, but raw food, then it is cooked inside. So, and that's what you want to call double standard. But sometimes when I'm trying to make it interesting, I say that when you meet a person who is in Nakasero or Kororo and the person who is in Kisenyi, they are all in Kampala. But the circumstances under which they are living will naturally be very what? Different. So even when we go to prison, even if it is a hospital, naturally those who go to hospital, they will go in private wing, but they are all in hospital and they can all die, they can all survive. So we try as much as possible to mitigate the prison conditions by coexisting. So those who can afford, bring. But those who can't afford, what we have is good enough to sustain them until they leave.
With all those services that prisoners get, is it still a prison?
Yes, a prison is a prison. You see, they imprison the brain, not the mouth, not the legs, but the brain. Because the conditions of you can't do what you want, you can't sleep when you want, you can't you can't move in any direction you want. Everything is programmed for you, and your work is simple to obey. So no matter where, whatever other good conditions they are, I can assure you it's a prison, is actually a prison. The first challenge is congestion. Why? Our holding capacity now is 22,000 inmates. In other words, according to the prisons we have 269 prisons, and we think, but according to the size of the prisons, we could comfortably keep 22,000 inmates.
But you have over.
But we have 78,000 inmates. So that means where there is supposed to be one inmate, we are actually keeping 4. Now, and the stretch also goes to the staff. The international ratio of staff to inmate is supposed to be 1 staff managing 3 inmates. But for us, because we are 14,000, actually our ratio is 1:6. 1 staff, that is double the international required ratio. Now, and when you start from that, now then other issues come in, because you don't have now enough room for rehabilitation. You are stretched when it comes to going to access to justice. We have prisoners overstaying on remand, which is not necessarily a creation of prisons, but other justice institutions. And then we have the ever increasing number of prisoners.